Good afternoon, my name is Emily Howard, and today I'm going to be talking to you about something that I'm very passionate about. What I'm very passionate about is food. Everyone loves food, I would assume. Now, one thing when I was in my history class, we learned about an act called the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906. I said, that sounds interesting. And so I decided to talk about it. The Drug Act was, let me just read it to you. So it prohibited the manufacture, sale, or transportation of adulterated, misbranded, or poisonous or deleterious foods, drugs, or medicines and liqueurs. So, what does this mean? So let me give you a little bit of background. There was a man named Upton Sinclair, and he wrote a book called The Jungle. Now this book was super popular in the 1900s because it told the truth. It told everybody what was going on with their food, how it was being packaged, what was being put in their food. So there was this big trend of packaging food, of canning food, but a lot of companies, in order to make money, they didn't put in the best food. They put in food that it was okay, and even sometimes they would put in food that was already expired, and then they would add in extra chemicals and extra things just to be able to make a buck. So this book enlightened people about what happened, and people were mad. People were mad that expired food was being sold and manufactured and given to them, and they didn't want to consume it. That's normal. So I'm just going to talk to you about the repercussions of this act, how it came about, and what people did in response. There were some companies that probably had decent food, but after the transportation and poor refrigeration, they became toxic. So usually most cooking would take out this and these things that could harm you, but there were things in there called ptomaines. So ptomaines were this filth. I don't know any other way to explain it, but it's a filth that was in meat that couldn't be cooked out, and it caused a very foul smell, and it was once thought to cause food poisoning. And so it was very, very bad for you and very bad to put in your body. In fact, a lot of people wanted to be enlightened about the proper way, not only for companies to prepare food, but also how to prepare food at home. So one source I read was by Jenny R. Bear, and Jenny explained how mold and bacteria can get onto food and how to prevent that. So she wrote this article, and this article told people the proper way to wash your hands, the proper way to wash dishes. And I'm just going to share with you her tips and some that I found along the way. Jenny started off by explaining how food and bacteria transfer from us as people to foods. So first of all, it can be transferred by your hands. If you don't wash your hands after you use the restroom, if you don't wash your hands after touching dirt, after really touching any surface that has germs on it. So she went through and talked about how it can transfer from clothes, and how after you touch something, or before you even start to touch your food, wash your hands. And don't just rinse your hands off with just cold water. Use warm, soapy water, and make sure that you get not just your hand, but your whole hand. just so that way. Jenny talked about how the spores and the mold and all of these different types of bacteria can grow on food based on certain temperatures, certain climates, certain ways that you put your food in to store it. So mainly she talked about how to store your food, how to care for it, how to prepare it, and how to preserve your food. Because bacteria causes deterioration, causes decay on your food, and the best way to preserve your food is to prevent that. So that's what you're doing whenever you're washing your hands and you're storing your food properly. The example she used was for potatoes, and a lot of people did not like the dirt on potatoes, and right when they got the potatoes, they just washed the potatoes off really fast, but that actually caused the food to decay faster and to deteriorate faster. So she recommended it's okay that there's dirt on it, there might be dung on it, but store it in a place, in maybe a bag, and don't wash it until you're about to use it. So that way your food can last longer and your food can be better. And that way you're not consuming bad, expired food. Food that you eat is probably as good and as healthy for you as the person that prepared it. So if you want to know how your food is, how good it is for you, look at who prepared it. Are they clean? Are they hygienic? So make sure that whenever someone's preparing your food or you're preparing your own food, make sure that your hands are being washed. If somebody sneezes, make sure that they don't sneeze into their hand and then automatically start touching food and start preparing food. That was one tip that I read about, and also there are some tips that say important to make sure that you are aware of the cleaning products and how you clean when your food is out. So whenever you're dusting, make sure that your food, that no dust gets on your food, because if you use a feather duster and you just feather dust around, that's going to stir up all the dust, and it's, yes, you're getting it off that one surface, but it's going somewhere else. So if you're trying to dust the floor or you're trying to dust the cabinet above, say, your bowl of fruit, then that dust is going to fall on your bowl of fruit, and there could be bacteria in there, there could be some harmful thing in that that could cause your food to deteriorate faster or just to be more unhealthy for you. Important lessons that I think can be taught about food hygiene and food care is making sure that what you put your food on is just as clean as your food is. So you can wash your hands all you want, you can wash your food all you want, and make sure that there is no bacteria on that. But if you're poorly washing your dishes, then it's a losing battle. So the proper way to wash your dishes is with hot, soapy water, and make sure that you rinse it with probably scalding water, probably as hot as you can stand it, because that will kill the bacteria, that will kill the germs, and you want to make sure that you're not using a towel. Well, use a towel to wipe your dishes off, but make sure that it is a clean towel. Don't use a towel that's been everybody's hand towel after they wash their food, after they wash their hands, because dead skin cells can get onto that towel and then it'll transfer on to your plate. So make sure that whenever you're washing your dishes, you use a sterile towel, you use hot water, and soap. You also want to make sure that where you store your food in your refrigerator is also clean as well. So refrigerators are usually can be damp sometimes, but dampness is a condition where bacteria can grow. So you want to make sure that your refrigerator is not damp. Now, one thing that you can do is put a lime in there and it will absorb the dampness, and that is one thing. But you also want to make sure that you're cleaning your fridge once a week. And once a week, the method of cleaning, I would say, is take out all of the items in the refrigerator. And once you do that, you want to make sure that you are washing your refrigerator with hot water, with soap. Refrigerator can have odors. Say you have an onion in there, say you have other spoiled foods in there. You want to make sure that it doesn't smell bad. Nobody wants to eat food out of a smelling refrigerator. So one thing that can help is to put a plate of charcoal in your refrigerator, and that will absorb odors. Along with washing your plates and your refrigerator, you also want to wash your fruit whenever you consume, before you consume it, just to ensure that there's no bacteria on your food, because then it's going to go into your body and you're going to get sick from it. One example that I read about was about a girl who was eating an orange and she developed a sore in her mouth because of the orange. And what happened and how that came about was the vendor of the orange, he, in order to make his fruit shine, he spit on his fruit and he wiped it off with his handkerchief just to ensure that the fruit would shine and it would look really good. But no matter how good your food looks, you want to make sure that there's nothing bad on it. And this man actually had mouth cancer, and that's how the little girl got a sore in her mouth. Sure that you see who is selling your food, who is selling your produce, and if it's questionable but there are no other options, make sure that you just clean your fruit thoroughly. We want to talk about how exactly you should place your food in your refrigerator. Now, my family, this is something that's really going to help, so that way I know the proper way to store my food. One thing that you want to make sure of, you want to put your milk, your butter, your eggs, and your cheese on the bottom shelf, so that way no odors can be absorbed, because nobody wants to eat smelly milk. You also want to make sure that whenever you buy your meat, unless you are about to use it, you want to store it in a cold place prior to your use of it. But if you're going to save it, you want to put it in the freezer, because warm places can facilitate bacterial growth, but the freezing can preserve it. So you want to make sure that you put all of your meat, your chicken, your beef, your pork, your fish in the freezer. Tips about your food. So your milk, you want to make sure that your milk is being provided by a healthy provider. You want to make sure it was a healthy cow. You want to make sure that everything was good in the processing and the making of the milk. So you also want to make sure that when you get your bottle of milk, you want to make sure that you wash the neck of the bottle and you wash the top of it, so that way no bacteria that could have been transferred from hands get onto your milk bottle, because that will transfer into your milk, and once it's in your milk, once you consume it, you get that bacteria. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope that this was enlightening for you. I hope that the tips and the little bit of history that I shared with you, I hope that you can carry that on into your everyday life. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.